Time to read. Chapter 19, page 161. As they all watched Jacob leave, Matt watched his last chance to pass the school project leave too. With the final report due Monday morning, there was no time left to have enough sales to show what Mr. Moffat was asking for. Matt needed 3 clients, and he had only 2. Even he could do that math. Well, now that he's gone, we can have some fun, Alex said. Nice one about the face ripping off part. Matt shrugged. I was improvising. The dogs don't really do that, right? Tubbs said. Not the face thing, but they do smell people. Wish they had been around during summer camp when I left a candy bar in my sleeping bags, Tubbs said. Would have been easier than trying to explain to everyone that it was chocolate all over my pajamas. Ugh, Alex covered her face. TMI, Tubbs. No one would smell my PJs to believe me, Tubbs continued. Let's get the sleds ready, Hershey, Matt said, giving Tubbs a knock on the shoulder. When they laid out the gang line, Matt noticed one of the tugs was almost chewed through. Yikes, I have to fix this first, he said, separating the tug line from the gang line. Finding new lines in the barn, Matt started measuring and cutting. How do you know how long these should be? Tubbs asked, watching Matt splice the ends into loops with a wooden fid. I just measure the length minus the loop at the end, Matt said. Look, the tug lines should all be equal lengths, long enough for the dogs to reach the neckline, but not too long or they'll get tangled. Matt stretched out the lines and noticed with satisfaction they were all the same. Then he raced to the house to ask Lily if she wanted to come, even though Dad was watching her. They ran 3 teams of 2, all the way to the base camp. No one fell off, lost their team, or got dragged. When they returned to the barn, they watched as the dogs lay in the snow, still harnessed and gnawed on their snacks of fist-sized frozen chicken. Grover growled and eyed Fu suspiciously. The dogs turned so they were facing away from each other, but their backs still touched. Snowflakes fell lightly onto the dog's fur. Flute is like one of the team now, Tubbs said, sitting on his overturned bucket, thanks to Bandit. Lily, sitting on Alex's lap, lighted up as if she were the one who'd been praised. Lily, Matt said, why do you always pick Bandit when you want to run the dogs? What is it about him out of all the dogs in the yard? I love him. He's my favorite. But why? She shrugged and stopped braiding Alex's hair long enough to look at Matt. He's the youngest, besides the new puppies, and no one thinks he's ready to run, but he told me he is. Sometimes I come out when no one else is around, and he tells me things. Matt immediately recalled his own nights with Fu, sleeping in the pen with him. Sometimes you just had a soul connection with a dog, and you couldn't explain it to anyone. He nodded at his sister. Maybe he'll be your lead dog one day, Lil. She looked at Matt as if to say, well, duh, and went back to Alex's hair. For a moment, there was no sound but the dog's lips smacking as they chewed with their mouths open. A sadness hit Matt. This was their last class together. He'd just gotten the hang of being a teacher. He'd miss the teaching, but most of all, he would miss running with Tubbs and Alex. Matt picked up the bag he had hidden in the corner of the barn in preparation for this moment. He peeked inside with satisfaction. Yes, this was the right decision. Last night, when he remembered he had promised Musher certificates, he knew what would be the perfect prize. Everyone passed the test to complete Matt's sled dog school, he announced, reaching into the bag. Everyone made it to the base camp and back with their own team. Matt pulled out the whittled sled dog he'd finished last night with a final polish of sandpaper. The final piece to his whittled 6-dog team. But instead of placing it in the glass display case in his room, he had carefully printed with a fine tip marker the words, Junior Musher. And on the other side, he'd written, Sled Dog School Graduate. He'd taken the other lead dog from the other lead dog from the display and written the same on that one too. He presented them to Tubbs and Alex. Did you make this? Alex asked with surprise. Wow, this is good. Tubbs' eyes widened as he accepted his sled dog and ran his fingers over the dog's pointed ears. Thanks for the cat. Matt's face fell. joking, Tubbs said, nudging him. This is amazing. Junior musher. He hooted with delight. Watching him dance, Matt smiled. He might have failed the project, but at least he hadn't failed his friends. Monday morning, Matt woke up early and considered playing sick. He lay in bed for a while before he remembered that sick people in his house didn't get to play with the dogs, and they didn't get a story. They were forced to eat chicken soup, which Matt hated, and it was really boring to stay home all day. Besides, he had to face the fact that he'd failed to complete the project. Today or tomorrow would yield the same result, so he got up and wrote down what he knew. But his numbers included only 2 clients, and he still hadn't worked out how much they spent on dog food for 6 weeks. He had the total for a month, though, and he figured that was enough. He would count 5 dogs that he had to feed, the 5 plus Flute that he, Alex, and Tubbs had used in their final run on Saturday before graduating. But he didn't know what to do with the rest of the numbers. Matt's Sled Dog School by Matt Misko. Assets: dog sleds, harnesses, gangline, sled dogs. Expenses: coveralls, $29. Dog food, $20 per month per dog. Used 5 dogs. 20 divided by 5 equals 25. Scratch. $20 times 5 equals $100. Sales: 2 clients. Tubbs $50, Alex $40. 4 weeks. Total $90. He shut his book in disgust and jammed it into his backpack. Thinking about everything, finding out he had to take the remedial math class almost made him sick for real. After chores, Matt was putting on his school coat when the dog started up a ruckus. He peered out the window to see Tubbs' minivan pulling into the driveway. Confused, Matt ran outside to meet him. Why was Tubbs here before school? Matt's bus would show up any minute. Tubbs spied him as he climbed out the side door of the van. He started to wave, missed a step, and fell onto the snow. But he bounced up, a huge grin splitting his face. What's going on? Matt asked. Guess what? You'll never guess. Holy smoly. I should make you guess. Can you guess, or do you need a clue? I should give you a... Tubbs! Come on! I'm going to miss my bus. What is it? As Tubbs waved an envelope in front of Matt, Tubbs' dad yelled out the van door. Let's go! I said 1 minute! Tubbs thrust the envelope into Matt's hands, grinned, and then dived back into the vehicle. As he slid the door shut, he yelled, I'm like a drive-by delivery hero. So cool! Call you tonight! The bus arrived as the minivan skidded out of the driveway. Matt shoved the envelope into his pocket and raced inside. He grabbed his backpack, yelling goodbye, and then sprinted for the bus. Lily's little bus was already coming down the road by the time he reached his. Mrs. Wilson scowled at him and then shut the door with a dramatic crank of the large lever. Matt slid into the first empty seat and took out the envelope. He stared at the crisp handwriting. Matthew Misko. When he tore open the envelope, the first thing he noticed was all the money. More bills than he was used to holding. He snatched the letter that was attached and started to read. Matthew. Enclosed is payment for Tyler for 5 weeks of dog sledding lessons. Also included is payment for Flute. You have done something marvelous with this dog. He has been well behaved in the house since you started training him. I thank you for doing a good job. I will tell my friends about your dog training services. Mrs. White. The letter dropped into Matt's lap. He sifted through the cash. $100? He glanced around as if looking for a hidden camera, because this was so weird. Training. He hadn't trained Flute. Not obedient to training the way Tubbs had expected. Matt had just gotten the dog running. Come to think of it, Flute had had so much fun running with the team, he put all of his energy into it. Matt didn't think the lab had been used to the exercise. All dogs needed exercise. Flute had probably been crazy in the house all the time because he hadn't had any way to let out his energy. Running in the team kept him happy, and he must have been quieter in the house afterward. Matt had to read the letter again before he realized what this meant. It was as if the sun found all the windows in the bus at once and shone in, covering everything with light. Matt's whole body hummed with relief. Flute is my 3rd client.